Yes, everyone, the Giannis Antetokounmpo saga has finally ended as the Milwaukee Bucks have traded the two-time MVP, former Finals MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat receive Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis, and the Milwaukee Bucks receive Tyler Hero, Kello Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Jagasiones, number 13 pick in the 2026 NBA draft, as I'm currently recording this a couple hours before tonight's draft. First round picks in 2020 and 2031 and 2033, a pick swap in 2030, and a second round pick in 2033. So this happened last night, and I was up last night, up late when it happened, and I was trying to gather my initial thoughts and everything like that. And first, we'll get into the Heat side. So the Heat, they needed to make a move. They desperately needed to. This is an organization. They have a championship winning culture. They needed a superstar. They've been in the middle of the pack. That's something you don't want to be in the NBA, especially for a long period of time. They've been in playing games or getting bounced out in the first round over the last couple of years since they made the finals back in 2023 as the eighth seed. And they haven't had much success since then. And with the roster they had before the Giannis trade, they weren't going to get much better or be a team contending. So they had to make a move here to get the superstar, especially when they had a chance and the assets to get him. And I do think they gave up a lot to get him, even though that's what you got to do when you're getting a player of Giannis's caliber who's still in his prime. But, he has had injuries history over the last couple of seasons, but I think he's still worth this type of load to get the type of package you got to give for him to get him. And I don't know. I know they have Bam Adebayo still there, but they still have a lot of questions with their roster construction around Giannis. How are Bam and Giannis going to fit? That's something I'm interested in seeing how they're going to build around that, because I know defensively they're going to be great. You have Andrew Wiggins there, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bam Adebayo in that front court. That's going to be havoc to have to deal with as an opponent offensively, trying to score against those guys, especially when you drive them to the rim. And if you're a team that can't really shoot, those rim deterrents and the help side defense that Bam and Giannis have, and the ground they could cover 1 through 5, that is a nightmare having to deal with. So that I'm not worried about defensively. And then Davion Mitchell at the point. We'll see if they sign Norman Powell, because that will be a key thing for them. They have to sign Norman Powell back this offseason in free agency. That's a must. They have to get him back because he can provide some spacing and shooting for this team. And there's rumors out there that Klay Thompson they could potentially get, but Klay Thompson's not what he used to be. At the same time, though, you need as much shooting as you can get surrounding Giannis and Bam to space the floor out. Because right now, it seems a little bit compacted and tight, and Giannis and Bam kind of occupy the same space. But defensively, I think they're going to be special. I think Giannis and Bam have the ability to be the best defensive front court duo we've seen maybe since Tim Duncan and David Robinson, Ben Wallace or Rasheed Wallace for Detroit that won the title in 2004. That might be this type of defensive front court duo, some of the best that we've seen. And these guys could, like I said, switch 1 through 5. So defensively, I'm not worried. It's the offense that I'm worried about. How's it going to look? It's going to look a little bit clunky to me because Giannis is not a shooter himself. Bam can shoot the 3, but he's not a knockdown. I'm worried about have to close out on type of shooter. You know what I'm saying? He's not someone I'm worrying about every single game. He'll have some nights he's hot, have some nights he's cold, but that's something they're going to have to work the kinks out offensively. And then we have to give a shout out to Pat Riley. I know there's been a lot of criticism towards him over the last couple of seasons, how he hasn't really tried to make any big moves. They've almost had free agents come there and didn't. They missed out on Kevin Durant. They missed out on Kyrie Irving, guys like Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and so many, DeMar DeRozan in the past. And they never really could get that guy to come to Miami, despite Miami being a state where there's no state income tax in Florida. And it's a beautiful place to live in Miami. And yet nobody seems to want to go there. And now is a guy who's gotten Shaq before in 2004 in a trade. He signed LeBron and Bosh to join D Wade in 2010 through free agency. He got Jimmy Butler in a trade in 2019, I believe. And then now he acquires Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was a top 25 player of all time, in a deal. And this is a team that has a 2-3 year window now to go make it happen. And we're going to get into the big picture stuff because I have some where they could potentially place in the Eastern Conference as rosters are currently constructed in NBA before we get into free agency throughout the rest of the offseason, how the rosters ultimately shake up. But I think Pat Riley has done what he has to do at this stage of his career. He's in his 80s, and this was a big domino effect around the league. And before I get into like where the Heat and the big picture stuff, now I'll get to the Bucks. The Bucks, they're clearly rebuilding. They got some draft hauls, some draft picks, some draft capital to help them rebuild for the future. And it's going to me, I think it's going to be a long rebuild. Where I think is a solid prospect. I don't think he's ever going to be someone who's going to be an all-star in NBA. We'll see how he develops. But I think he has some talent there. He got some building blocks. Hero's been a former all-star in this league, but he's a Milwaukee resident. You know, he grew up in Milwaukee. He grew up in Wisconsin. That's where he's from. So hometown kid coming back, that can make for a great story. But he's not someone who's a number one option on a winning team. But he could give you some offensive spark and scoring. Jaime Jaquez Jr., that was the one piece in this deal that I really wish the Heat could have kept. Because he can get his shot. He rebounds, he plays hard, and he is one of the best 6 men in the entire NBA. And he could start whenever you need him to, and his number is called. He is that legit. And if they could have kept him, I would have felt better about the Heat's chances of contending next season. If they could have added with him, if they were able to keep him and add a point guard. And they also got Bobby Portis, the Miami Heat, that his championship running mate for Giannis. So he's not going there by himself. I really wonder how that his brother's going to stay in NBA now that he's not in the Bucks. Are the Bucks going to waive them, or is they going to go join him on the Heat? That's one dynamo. I'm really interested in seeing how that shakes out. But back to the Bucks. They got some young pieces now. We'll see who they acquire in the draft. And those picks that they got in the first round from the Heat are unprotected. And those, to me, are going to be valuable picks because 2031, 2033, Giannis is going to be on the back end of his career. He'll be 37, 38, 39 around that time. He'll be close to retiring. And honestly, I don't think the Heat are going to be good around that time. So I think those are going to be very valuable draft picks that the Bucks will have at their disposal that could really help them. And if I'm a Bucks fan, I'm kind of sick, but it's like, man, it's going to be a long rebuild. A long rebuild. And I just don't know how they're going to really shake this out. But now, getting back to the Miami Heat, I think the Miami Heat, when you're talking about Giannis and what he can do in the Eastern Conference next year with Bam, I think this team, you look at the Eastern Conference, right? The Knicks top the conference, in my opinion, especially if they run it back with their roster. If they sign Mitchell Robinson, we'll see if they extend Cat, but there's been rumors that Dolan doesn't want to extend Cat. Celtics, I expect them to be better. I think Detroit, we got to give them respect. They were number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference this year. And then after that, maybe Halliburton, the Pacers, but I don't know. They gave up some of their guy. I don't know. We'll see how he looks coming back from his Achilles. And then I think the Heat, I think those will be like the 4-5 teams in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland will be in the mix somewhere, but I don't really trust Cleveland. It all depends how they build around Giannis, the pieces they add, if they can get a point guard, if they got some shooting. And in today's NBA with the second apron and everything, how hard it is to really build. It's tough, man. This Giannis situation, I don't love the trade, but I think it's marginally better than what he had in Milwaukee, but I don't think it's exponentially better where he's like, oh yeah, now he's on a title contending team. Because we're going to get to the Boston Celtics, because I thought if he went to Boston, because Boston was offering a package of Jaylen Brown and 2 first-round picks. And I believe the first-round picks they were offering were the same year that the Heat offered them, unprotected, 2031 and 2033. I think if he went to Boston, he would have had a better chance because he's playing with another superstar in Tatum. They have more depth and a better constructed type of organization and roster around Giannis. And I just think they're deeper. And they have some shooters on that team. Derek White can space the floor when he's hot. Jason Tatum can shoot. Payne Pritchard. And they have some other guys on that team that can shoot the basketball as well. The reason I think the Celtics and the Bucks couldn't agree on a deal is because I think there were rumors that Jaylen Brown didn't want to sign a long-term extension with the Milwaukee Bucks, and they didn't want to give up a Giannis player for a guy who's for right now, not future assets. And I'm sure they didn't really like the draft capital they were getting from the Boston Celtics, especially when it only was 2 first-round picks and Jaylen Brown for a Giannis Antetokounmpo type of player. So they were able to get a lot of players for the Miami Heat in that package, along with some draft capital for the future. I think it's a good trade overall, especially for all parties involved. I think the Heat got the player they wanted. The Bucks got the draft capital they wanted and some young talent. But now, Giannis, it's time to win. I know he's looking to make some noise in the playoffs again. It's a guy who was once, to me, the best player in the league for like a 2-3 year stretch from like 2020 to 2022. He was the best player in the league. And he won that championship in 2021, 5 years ago. But ever since he won that title in 2021, he hasn't made it past the first round other than 2022 when he got bounced out in the second round to the Boston Celtics. I know Chris Middleton got hurt that year, so I think they could have repeated if he stayed healthy. But this is something he's been struggling with. He hasn't had a deep meaningful playoff run in a while. I know there's been injuries on his part, and then also Damian Lillard. That experiment didn't work out. And I know when they waived Damian Lillard and his contract out of nowhere, that was like the final straw for Giannis. That's when he said, all right, you guys aren't serious about winning. I need to get out of here because we're obviously not a championship contender, and he wants to win. He wants to get another title. He's been openly candid about that he wants to win another title, and he hates losing. So he's in an organization now where I think he fits the Miami Heat culture with his intensity, his relentless work ethic, how he's always the first one in, last one out in practice. And I think he's going to really mesh well with Eric Spoelstra's system. And I think Spoelstra's going to get the best out of him and find a way to fit him and Bam together and plug in the pieces around them. So I think right now, as we currently speak, they only have 7-8 guys currently signed to the roster for next season. So they definitely have more filling in the roster to do. But overall, I think the Heat will probably be a 4th or 5th seed in the Eastern Conference next year. I don't see a title contender. I see maybe a second round team as of right now. I don't think they have enough talent to really make a deep run if I'm looking at it as an objective view. But I think this is a marginal improvement from what he had in Milwaukee. And he at least is playing with another all-star in Bam to make his life easier. So, yeah. I don't know what you guys think about the Giannis trade. Let me know in the comment section below. I don't think they're title contenders. They still have a lot of work to do. But I think this is a step in the right direction if you're the Miami Heat, especially since you had to do something. But yeah, I don't know how this is going to make them a title contender because I still look at it as still a lot of work to be done. So let me know in the comment section below. It's your host, DJ Hamilton here, Hardware Hoops, presented by DJ Sports Show. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.